Okay, who brought us this episode, Chris? Who did it?
This episode was brought to you by Squarespace, the best way to make a beautiful, responsive website, portfolio, blog, or online store. If you go to squarespace.com and use the promo code THUMBS, you will get 10% off your first order. And you sign up for a year, you get a free domain name. Squarespace.com and the offer code THUMBS.
What domain name would you get?
Oh, God, I would probably get, like, helicopters.helicopter.
That's a really good immediate pull. That really cracked me up. In my brain, at least. I was kind of stunned.
Well, anytime, Jake.
Nick, what do you think about Fallout 4? Oh, it's all right. It's good. It's pretty good. Da-da-da. Thanks, everyone.
I don't know much I have to say about it.
See you in 5 years. It's November 12th, 2015.
This is Idle Thumbs 236. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
This is an eerie coincidence that it is just the three of us.
Yes.
Following the release of Fallout 4.
Uh-huh. And also a StarCraft expansion, which I didn't play yet, but I feel like if we just need a Far Cry, and then we're
This
time
is like
traveling.
Idle Thumbs 1.
We're back.
Wasn't the first episode of Idle Thumbs, didn't we talk about Fallout 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I talked about a Wario Land game. I did not play a new Wario game, so I fucked it up. Sorry.
So there's been non-zero Wario talk recently. So I don't know.
More Waluigi talk.
That's true. Maybe we've graduated.
We're at Fallout 4 instead of Fallout 3, Waluigi instead of Wario. We're moving on. We're keeping up with the times here at
that's
Idle
true.
Thumbs. Far Cry Mammoth game
That's true. Yeah.
coming up. Can't wait. Clint Hocking's new Far Cry Mammoth thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he worked on that game.
I don't
No.
think he did either. Yeah.
Anyway.
Although, I mean, Clint Hocking has been back in the news recently because he rejoined Ubisoft.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, you didn't know this?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, Clint Hocking. So Clint Hocking has not shipped a game since Far Cry 2.
Yeah.
Because he knows that he shipped possibly
Yeah, he shipped the best one,
The
so-
best one. So
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah.
And he, then he was at, what was the order? He went there from there to LucasArts?
Yes.
LucasArts to Amazon.
to
LucasArts to Valve, to
Valve
an
to
Amazon,
Amazon.
startup,
Yeah.
like gaming group, to
Yeah.
back to
back
Ubisoft.
to Ubisoft. Yeah.
Right.
I bet he'll ship a game at Ubisoft. Ubisoft ships games. Like basically, if there's anything that Ubisoft does,
their slogan.
They make many games. So
That's true.
he will probably make a game. And I kind of think that, I mean, I have no, we all have met Clint obviously a number of times, but I'm not like a close personal
And if you
friend
haven't,
of his or
if you're a
anything.
listener of Idle Thumbs, you feel like you've met Clint.
That's true. So I'm not saying this with the weight of any real authority, but it kind of feels to me that he's the kind of designer who might work better in a kind of a more hierarchical AAA studio.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing him back in a studio where the forces above him are pressing him very hard to finish a game, put it in a box, and make money for them. And then what his job is to do is to make the best
rail
version of
against
that
that.
before they make him put
Without
it out the door.
ruining it.
Without
basically. Yeah. I
As
agree.
opposed to LucasArts, they did not ship anything for a while, then they closed. Amazon was a black boxed startup, and Valve is a black boxed 20-year-old weird house.
Yeah. That's their slogan. Ubisoft, we ship games. Valve, 20-year-old weird house.
That's accurate.
That was the highest stack ranked slogan.
Yeah, the guy who came up with that actually got a $3 million bonus.
God, weirdly, I played a lot of like Left 4 Dead and Portal this week.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you end up
Speaking
with
of Valve.
doing that?
My girlfriend Janelle and I
Both
were
are
just
great
looking,
games, obviously.
We were looking for just like something we could play in like a short burst because we were working a lot,
Yeah.
and just something that we could play like together for like 20 minutes. And at the end of the day, I looked at like what was available to play out there right now today, and I was
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead and Portal are still kind of.
Did you guys play Portal 2 co-op stuff? Or
we did, which I had never played. It's really good.
It is good.
It is really good.
God, playing those games made me realize
Yeah.
how brilliant the level design is in those games, and how just like
all the good level design in Portal 2 is in the co-op, in my opinion. Too.
Yeah, for sure. And Left 4 Dead, my God, like we just picked a random
What did
campaign.
you play? You played Left 4 Dead 2?
Which is now just kind of
No, just
Left 4
the-
Dead because
Left
they
4
have
Dead
like
2 is the,
every
is the Left 4 Dead
campaign.
platform.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure,
and
Because they ported all of 1
Yeah,
and
yeah,
DLC and
it's
stuff.
true, I forgot
into
about
two.
that. Yep.
yeah, everything's just one big homogenized thing now, which is great if you just pick it up
Yeah.
if you want to pick it up. But God, like we just wandered around this one level, and it was crazy. We never got lost once, and it was this insanely complicated like structure. It was the rain one, heavy or no rain or heavy, whatever, the one that rains a lot.
Yeah.
No rain, heavy rain.
Yeah, heavy
hard
rain. Oh
rain.
God, cycling through games with rain. But no, man, what a great game. It is a bummer that they don't make games now.
Yeah. It's weird, huh?
Thinking about Left 4 Dead 1 getting merged into Left 4 Dead 2 then made me think about like if somehow Portal 1 got merged into Portal 2, and then if Portals got merged into Left 4 Dead and they just called it Steam. If you just launch your Valve game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they won't do that.
Man, Brad Muir
They
is
could.
at Valve now.
maybe they are making a game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, they're making Dota.
That's true. That's
true.
true.
That
Brad is
is-
probably working on Dota, right? I
Valve
mean,
is-
he's like
Brad is
yeah.
definitely a Dota guy. Yeah.
Who's to say? Former Dota Today host, Idle Thumbs podcast, Brad Muir.
True.
That was what launched him to his career at
So
Valve.
it
I
made
think.
Valve take notice.
Not
no
the
doubt.
Yeah.
Not the numerous shipped games as project lead.
Yeah.
They're going to release a podcast called Dota Today 2, and then we'll have to sue them.
We found that the Idle Thumbs Network did not sufficiently
Right.
trademark the Dota Today name.
Well, they will just call it Dota number 2 day, and they're like, you guys, that's different.
We got one of the original hosts, so
we think we got
we think we have the precedent.
sort of real soul of the podcast here
Yeah.
on board.
Meanwhile, hardcore Dota Today fans know that Brad was not one of the original hosts, that Sean and Nick were the original hosts, and Brad...
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, I guess we should talk about Fallout.
Oh,
yeah.
what? Let's just talk about garbage for the whole podcast.
Classic Idle Thumbs 1 callback.
Yeah.
No idea what we're talking
No,
about.
that podcast was actually pretty tight compared to this, I think. I think
Yeah,
we just
that's
talked about
probably true.
games that were current and people liked us then.
All right,
Very different from today.
So Fallout 4.
Yeah. How much of it did you play, Chris?
I've played several hours.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at.
It's I mean, the nature of these games makes it almost impossible for me to know how to tell you how much I've played, because
Right.
we could have played for the exact same number of hours, and one of us could have seen 5% of the game, and one of us could have seen 1% of the game.
Yeah. Which always makes me nervous talking about the game at this point. You know what I mean? Because I feel like
I don't mind, because there's so much of it that
Yeah.
like, what are you going to say that's going to spoil someone?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's
unless-
pretty good. It's fine. It's pretty good.
Well, what do you think of this game?
It's interesting. I'm coming from a weird spot because I saw the sort of pre-production phase while I was still at Bethesda years ago. And now this is actually also weirdly the first Bethesda game I played in a long time where I haven't, been
Contributed
involved
to it
in it
in some way?
And so like it's weird experiencing it from this side, especially having worked as a community manager, because now all the things that people would write in to me in that job, some of those things are like popping up in my brain, and I'm just becoming the thing that I hated. So I'm kind of like, But generally speaking, it feels like less of a, I guess, generational leap than Skyrim did from Fallout 3, and
I agree.
I think it
feels much more Skyrim-y.
Yeah, and I think
Which is fine.
I think it's fine. I'm actually curious what you
Skyrim with guns is how you would basically describe this. Get that joke? Huh?
Classic.
It's a good one. Yeah, it definitely feels like they went for a lot of like very specific upgrades in terms of like the components that make up a Bethesda game. To me, like they like targeted aspects of their game system. I don't know, like whatever like creation engine. whatever they want to call it, like conversations. I'm sure tons of work went into the system that runs that now because
where you can like walk away from a conversation.
Yeah, walk away, and they're doing cinematic cameras and all of that. So it sort of feels like a piecemeal upgrade as opposed to like an across the board kind of a thing. But I'm enjoying it.
Oh, me too. I find this game really difficult to evaluate because on the one hand, it's like unbelievably ambitious in ways that are just shocking when I come upon them. Like, pretty early on, you find, well, you can find anyway, early on a workshop, and you're like, oh, they've got that crafting system in there.
Yeah.
Oh, you can just build a house. Yeah. You can build corridors
you just
and
take down an entire like city and then rebuild it.
Yeah. Like what? Like what the hell is this? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Shit like that is bonkers. And then other things are like, this literally just feels like playing Skyrim. Like I'm walking around harvesting the plants and doing the things, and which is, again, this is not a bad thing, but it just makes it so difficult for me to know how to sort of holistically judge the game. And like, it's not my job to. I'm not a game reviewer, so like I'm not stressed out about that. But when I am just thinking about it, when I was thinking about like, what's my impression of this game going to be on idle thumbs? I'm like, man, I don't know. I mean, it's amazing. Like it's if you like games like this, just get it because it's the new best one probably. But like, but it is, what you were saying about the all the time that must have gone into, for instance, the conversation system and cinematic camera and all that stuff. That sort of sums up how my sort of difficulty in summing up how I feel about these games, because not how I feel about them, but summing up sort of my take, because that system's a great example of like, oh yeah, they did all this work to put it in. Of course, it's still 25% of the time it just looks ridiculous because it's totally dynamic, and like I'm standing in a weird place and the camera's like behind my head and it's like entirely blocked. Which is, I can't fault the game for that because it is so huge in its scope and so sweeping in how much it tries to do.
Yeah.
But by the same token, like those facts cause it to sort of suffer sometimes. Like there's so much in it. Like all that crafting stuff is amazing, and it's also encouraging just terrible instincts. I have terrible like hoarding instincts I have, because now
the second I opened up that workshop thing, I was like, oh man, Chris is gonna like,
this
is gonna activate his weird,
every town.
It's like OCD, like, oh, I'm gonna carry everything back. Yeah, all right, how can I set this up so it's like perfectly efficient?
I can't even throw away garbage anymore because even garbage is like a component part you can use to even just like the fucking like empty soda bottle is like, don't forget, this is a glass component. Yeah. This will be used in recipes that use glass, like blueprints.
Yeah, but
it really is.
You have to then go, okay, it's a fucking crafting system, and ignore it.
Yeah, but it's cool.
So is optimizing it 100% the part of it that's cool?
No, it's not. I'm just saying that is like, it gets the worm in my brain, and then it
reminds me of like my grandma who lived through the Depression and just like save every piece of tinfoil.
Oh yeah, my grandmother too. She had canned food that was like decades old.
Yeah,
that she wouldn't get rid of.
Yeah, it's a good excuse to just not have to get rid of things, I guess. But anyway, yeah, no, it's crazy.
And my grandmother, have I ever said this on the podcast? One time my grandmother gave me and my brother as a present when we came over to her house. I think it might have been a Christmas present. She gave us like the plastic like ring tags that came on her like 6-pack case of wine. She gave us just like the little, just like plastic tags that hold together the wine bottles from like the bulk discount wine. And they were just like informational tags about the wine. And she's like, here you go. I saved this for you. We were like, thanks, Nana. What is...
It's cool. She was just,
she was just like saving all the things. And she's like, oh, well, this is... Can't throw this away.
Yeah.
My grandchildren will love this. I can't
plastic mess.
Yeah, I can't even communicate like what exactly it was because it's too mundane for us to have words for.
Sometime
she was waiting to craft her.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you missed out when like they deregulated the national crafting system in 1989, and like really just it didn't work out when it was privatized. It basically just isn't around anymore. But your grandma was really into that, and that's why she gave that to you. But it just didn't really register for you at the time. Its value, because there wasn't really you couldn't really melt it down and mold it into like a
Right.
piece of desk or something.
Right.
Yeah. Couldn't make shoes out of it like
Yeah.
you could back in the early and mid 20th century when the National Crafting Board was still around.
True. I forgot about that.
Fucking Reagan.
It's fine. We've got mods now. So yeah, no, I feel the same way about this game. I think, and it kind of, when I was thinking about, working as a community manager, the kinds of things that people would send in and complain about when it comes to Bethesda games, it's stuff that is on the internet, but it's also in huge volume when you're there, and it's just amplified because you're working there, and it's just stuff like, well, why are there memory issues with this game? Why is there a frame rate problem when you drop 60,000 items that all have specific data attached to them on the ground? And like that is the voice that sometimes will pop up when you're playing a Bethesda game and go like, oh god, I wish this thing was perfect. Why isn't it perfect? But it's sort of inherently flawed because of what it is.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like two things I don't want to be misconstrued about. One, I'm not criticizing the game for letting me be garbage.
Right.
But and then I'm also not criticizing the game for not having perfect cinematic camera direction, because I understand why both of these things exist. But the underlying factor is that they did choose to make a game that is just impossibly ambitious in scope, and like that is inevitably going to make for a rougher experience. And so you have to just sort of decide where you as a player kind of fall on how much of that stuff is actually important to you and what you want to engage with. Like these games definitely lend themselves towards player directed parameters. Like Chris Graft, who I used to work with at Gamasutra and is now the editor-in-chief there, wrote this great piece on Gamasutra about how he has found his time in Fallout 4 to be really improved by just turning off all quest markers.
Oh, I saw that.
So so he just doesn't have, and after I read that, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So I just went and turned them off too. And it's really cool. It makes it instantly very difficult to follow the main quest. And as a result, I'm just kind of wandering the wasteland. And it highlights one of the things that I think is a real strength of this game. Certainly more above Fallout 3, and I would say at least so far to me above Skyrim as well. And Skyrim was a game that I thought did this very well already, which is having just really, really, really interesting skylines and really great open world level design, which is something that is hard because not a lot of games. It's not a like there are a lot of best practices for kind of micro scale level design. Sort of levels. There's tons of GDC talks and forum communities and sort of just tons of resources around that. But open world level design is such a weird, ambiguous thing. And I feel like this game does it so well. There's always something cool on the horizon that you want to go see. And it's all very evocative. And that combines with a much more expansive art direction in this game than in Fallout 3. This game is much less monochromatic than that game was, or a lot more blue skies and just a much
it seems
broader
less
color palette.
Blighted generally. I mean, like everything's still dilapidated and weird.
Yeah, everything's still gross and blown up, but the just sensation of coming out of the vault for the first time, after I guess you were already previously outside of the vault at the beginning of this game, but when you re-exit to the vault, it just feels. I just really wanted to explore the world, and there's already you could already just see there's a cool water tower, and there's this weird sort of rocket ship gas station thing, and there's just cool stuff you can instantly see. And then I saw a big freeway in the distance, and this was after I'd already turned off my quest marker, and I'm like, oh man, there's just this huge ruined freeway that just overpass basically that just cuts across the whole landscape, and I was so desperately hoping that it was actually something I could climb up on and traverse. And I got there and it totally is, because it's, ruined. And so part of it sort of slouches down to the ground, and you can climb up it and walk across this freeway, 30 yards up in the air. And I'm just like, this is rad. This is just so cool. It's just a really, really great, inviting open world with lots of, attention drawing stuff.
Did you find your family?
that is also the plot of this game. So I don't know if you knew that or not, but
I did, Chris.
Because that was also basically the plot of Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Different family member, but yeah.
Yeah. Chris, you lived in Boston for a while.
I did for a few years.
Does this game evoke Boston to you? I mean, like, I'm just curious. I saw a reference to the Quincy Massacre, which made me laugh. Apparently, there's some
that was funny.
Yeah,
Quincy came up, which is where Irrational Games is located. So that's where I used
Did you
to work.
find the ruins of the Just Vape store?
No, I don't think I've been to Quincy in the game. I don't know if that's actually is Quincy in the game. Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, well I'll have
I
to
think
go
so
there.
anyway. I think it's in the far southeast.
Okay, that's where it would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, I don't know if it feels like Boston yet. I've been to Concord in the game, and I never went to Concord in real life, so I can't really speak to that. But it does. I mean, it does feel like an East Coast city. Which I mean, Fallout 3 was already set on the East Coast, so I guess that's not a big stretch. So I don't know. I'm sure it will once I actually get to downtown Boston areas. Yeah, but I haven't, because of the way I'm playing. I have no idea if I should have gotten there yet by now or not. But I've sort of just abdicated the main quest line for the time being, and I'm just kind of wandering and exploring
stuff. Yeah,
man. One crazy thing about this game is that you get so before I started doing that, when I was still kind of following. Well, actually, this wasn't main quest, but I don't actually know if it's main quest or not. But early on in my game, anyway, and I assume in most people's games, you do a quest that ends up giving you power armor really early.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I was going to mention actually, one of the things that seems like they definitely decided to do with this game is to just speed up the kind of like opening hour or two, which normally in a Bethesda game it's like a very directed I mean, Skyrim was already kind of getting to the point much faster than I think their previous games, but compared to Fallout 3, which begins with like a 40-minute sequence while you're growing up as a kid, which was effective. I actually liked that stuff, but at the same time, when you're playing it like a second time, you're just hunting for like a save file that starts after all of that stuff. So like this game, it's crazy how fast it starts. You like load it up and there's like a 3-minute thing and then the bomb falls and then you get out of the vault in like 3 minutes after that.
It's
and
like
then
10, 15 minutes. I
guess
it depends.
It's really fast.
Feels like 3 minutes.
It feels like they just decided to just and then like the vault armor or the power armor being something that happens in the first 5 minutes. It's weird. It's like great. It's like it feels like they
definitely wasn't 5 minutes for me, but you might just play this game faster than I do.
I think I just ran to the first thing, completed it very quickly, and then
as a non-Fallout person, is power armor the box art armor?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the trailer Fallout guy armor,
right?
Yeah. Okay,
it's Mr. Fallout's
you
armor.
just turn into Fallout guy.
Yeah. And in this game, it's like it's more of a vehicle kind of a thing in a weird way. Like you actually like strap into it, it becomes your actual. Like in past games, it was just like an armor.
So now it's like the Iron Man suit, or
now
something,
it's like the
where it breaks open and you can get out of it.
Exactly, and you can like swap out component parts of it.
Then it makes sense they'd give it to you so early if it's sort of like
exactly. It kind of feels like
if it's like a modular thing, you're like a modal device
throughout
almost.
The game. Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm glad that they made those decisions because it feels like, I don't know. This is the kind of these are the sorts of games where I'll play it for 10 hours and then stop and then come back a month from now, play it again, and do another playthrough, and like each time, it seems like they're just throwing all the stuff that you need to just kind of like start the sandbox version of it at you in the first 15 minutes, which is nice.
In 15 minutes you can have the power armor and you can have completely deconstructed the town that you start playing in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Strange.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. It is weird. Yeah. God, Bethesda games are so weird. It's weird that you can just walk around that town and just like there's a ruined house and you click on it and then it just disappears and turns into like weird crafting components. I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah,
somebody mentioned that it's just like as these games become more and more robust with these sorts of systems, they just become inherently like even more strange and goofy, which is I'm fine with. But
me too. I mean, I wonder.
It is funny.
I don't know. Can you speak to this at all? Like, what do you know? What I can just imagine having worked on games. I can just imagine what a weird nightmare and probably like source of kind of philosophical arguments on the team it is in terms of how to maintain like critical path completion of the game when you allow the player to like kill NPCs and So then you have to make some of them invincible, or you have to have alternate ways to complete quests. And like, I imagine there have to be a lot of cases where people just have like really strong disagreements about sort of maintaining the integrity of the simulation versus maintaining the
like the
integrity
story
of
campaign,
the sort of like written story. Yeah. But the game obviously has to be completable no matter what, I assume.
Yeah.
I assume it's not considered acceptable.
Turns out you dismantled the final building and melted it down and built the basketball court, and then you couldn't get your crit path objective.
But then you sunk the winning shot.
It knows.
You won your own game.
The thing you craft, it knows that it was made out of an end game object. So whenever you do its use, you get the closing credits. The breaking things down and crafting thing. Like, I've only been paying as much attention to this game as to know that it has that, and like the trailers keep like cheekily showing it by like doing a time lapse as a thing it's built. How many things can actually get broken down, and how elaborate a thing can you reconstruct out of it? Like, does it actually? Do you just again build things that are like, can you destroy 3 houses to build one slightly nicer prefabricated house, or is it actually like build foundational posts and affix walls to them and floors?
It's foundational prefabs. So like but yeah, you can rip everything down. It's surprising how much stuff just breaks down completely. Like there are entire foundations that you can just clean off the house and everything.
They built the majority of the sets out of parts that you can then dismantle one at a time, or is it like you press a button and it just says demolish this entire building and it has its craftable properties given to you? Like you just take siding off of a wall of a house and then leave the rest of the house?
It's actually both. So there are some that are just like ruined houses. They're just one giant like prefab, with just like junk everywhere, and that you can just clear off in a button press. But then there are also houses that are that have a actual like wall, solid walls that you can go in and just clean out every single object that they've placed in there, which can take a long time. And then at that point, though, I don't think you can get rid of those walls, though. So it's a difference between killing the whole house in one go, or kind of like filling an existing house.
Okay.
And it's also the way it works is that the camps, you can do this in any like settlement area that they've designated, and each settlement has like a radius around it, and then past that radius you can't collect. Yeah. You can't break anything down. So most of the world,
like a bubble that shows up when you're in that mode. That you
and is that the same for building new things? You have to find an existing foundation or something.
Yeah, you have to build it on a place that supports it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the odds that the first mod for this game, unless it's an item in the game, is basically just an always-on Luigi's Mansion vacuum, where you could just walk through town and you have your own bubble radius that just pulls everything into you. So you just are this horrible hell force that goes into settlements and strips them bare.
Is it based on I don't know what the underlying system that I don't know what the officially supported mod capabilities of these games are, because I've never really done much with mods for them. Would it be possible to ship a mod that just pre-strips the entire world, just like wasteland of a wasteland, that just everything that in the stock game, anything in the game that can be disassembled has been, and so you have the emptiest world that is possible, but all of the resources that are gained from having done that.
Sure, that's possible. I mean, the way this works is really simple. You just like the creation engine has it's not simple, but like
you can put a blob of content that top loads and overrides any element of the game, right? Isn't that generally how their thing works? Where you sort of side load content that just supersedes base content at whatever file level you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's you load, like, their DLC is essentially a mod, right? So, So yeah, I'm sure that's possible. I'm sure people are going to do crazy things with it. There was not. I mean, what'll be interesting is that I'm sure one of the reasons that these settlements have a radius is due to technical limitations. Like, I'm sure they didn't want to. Well, technical or maybe just aesthetic. Maybe they didn't want people running around like clearing the entire world, but probably also technical, because I know that each settlement has its own resource pool.
You also don't need to build the rest of the world out of scrappable crafting system parts if they exist, if the bubble doesn't, like, you don't need to worry about people being mad that they can't take the piece of rubble on the freeway. Right. I will just be interested to see if people until that the circle goes boop. They just make it the entire world, and then the system just collapses because it was never intended to do that. I'm very curious to see what the mods will be, but
I'm sure they'll start with just increasing the number of things you can build because I don't know. It is pretty. It's fairly robust, but I'm sure people will take it to the nth degree and make it a wacky thing.
Sideload the entirety of the San Andreas world map.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, you know what? This is totally unrelated to the crafting stuff, but I had a weird experience playing this game because the entire first day of my playing it, I guess I must have missed the part where they explain the V.A.T.S system. And so I just was playing the game entirely as a real-time first-person shooter.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, what a crazy choice that they just decided to like, yep, it's just a full-on action game now. And you just, because it was hard. I'm like fighting these fucking bugs and shit and they're up in my face. And I'm like, hey, this is crazy. Like if I wasn't I mean, I'm playing this game on PC and I'm like, man, if I weren't accustomed to playing shooters on PC and like had pretty good facility with it, this would seem really intense for, something that's sort of effectively trying to be an RPG. I mean, when I say trying to be, I mean sort of splitting the difference between action game and RPG. And then yesterday, my second day of playing it, which, by the way, is why this podcast is a day late. We wanted to have time actually playing this game so we could talk about it. But I just went into the controls menu, and it was like, V.A.T.S, Q. I said, oh, it is just totally in this game. It's just entirely still a part of this game, and I just missed it somehow. Yep. I have no idea when they explained it.
I did the same thing.
Really?
So I don't know. I don't think they ever actually do explain it.
I think I think Sean, who maybe we can get, I hope is on next week to talk about this because he's been playing a ton of it too. But I think his experience was the same, where he played the beginning of the game and did all the things he thought he was supposed to do, and just didn't know anything. Like you can walk past huge swaths of story setup. You can walk past learning how the combat system works. It's a surprising choice. Like, I haven't played this game yet, but everyone who I talked to who has played it is like, I feel like I missed something in the first 20 minutes of this game. And it's like,
I think it's literally that they just didn't do that stuff. I mean, there's no, I don't think there's like a combat tutorial outside of the one quest where you follow the robot around and he kills stuff for you, but that's...
No, I don't know. When I was in the vault, sort of leaving the vault, I definitely got a tutorial for like click to punch a guy, and like a bug flew at me and I punched it, and then I got another one for like press alt to do a melee attack if you're already holding a weapon, although maybe that only came up because I found a pistol and picked it up.
Oh yeah, see, I don't think I got that pistol.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I got that
instruction. But it's surprising that it didn't then throw an enemy at you that would really benefit from going into V.A.T.S.
I don't know why it never gave me V.A.T.S. I don't know where the trigger for that is that I missed, or maybe it doesn't. That would be weird, though. That would be so weird. Because I had to fight a fucking Deathclaw without V.A.T.S.
You had V.A.T.S. all along, Chris, and this is your fault.
Well, I know, but I mean, I'm saying that the game put me up against what in Fallout 3 is like one of the like toughest enemies to deal with, but you fight it really early in this game because you have power armor. But without that system, it still felt really overwhelming. And I eventually I died the first time I fought it because it just ran up to me and clawed the shit out of me. And then the second time I just stayed on the roof where I started and just shot it forever until it
That actually
died.
doesn't really help that fight much, which is weird. I thought it did, but it doesn't.
Oh, but it doesn't. Okay. Yeah. Well, fair enough then.
Because I died several times. But weirdly enough, I don't think they bothered to explain V.A.T.S. much in Fallout 3 either. Like I played that game. I played the opening of that game a couple months ago.
They must have explained it more than some, because that was the first game that it was in.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was in it. Yeah. Whereas this game, I just assumed it was gone for a day.
Yeah.
Because I didn't watch any trailers for anything for this game. And so it was just like, all right, it's coming out. And then it's out. And I knew I was going to play it anyway, so I didn't, Oh, that meant I also had no idea any of that crafting stuff was in there, because I didn't watch any of those trailers. So I remember going to that first gas station and just sort of successive tiers of my mind being blown as I kept getting deeper into those menus and being like, what the hell do they mean build walls and roof? Like, what? What? Like, I thought I was going to build a silencer for my pistol. Also a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turns out Minecraft shipped in between the Fallouts 3 and 4.
Is that true? I guess it did ship, yeah.
I mean, was Minecraft in alpha when we started this podcast in 2008?
I think it was 2009 when Minecraft was introduced, so yeah.
Why weren't we ever acquired for $2 billion?
We
been around
talked
longer
about
than
Minecraft and Fallout.
That's true.
There's no way to actually talk about this, but like the character creation, did you mess around with that at all? Like, did you delve into the sort of like weird?
I had that experience where I kind of started to, and then I realized anything I did was going to make a character way uglier than any of the defaults.
It's
so
crazy.
Like, I guess I'll just use basically a few
That's
tweaks
true
on the default.
The crazy thing to me is that how much stuff they made to make your character ugly. Like the ugly spectrum is like 90% of character creation. Like there are whole like 30 item lists of just like scars and blemishes and just
that was true.
crazy.
Actually, yeah.
Like I was making a female character and I was cycling through that list and you can just layer like bruises all over her face. It's weird.
Yeah,
like,
I know. Yeah, that was weird when I was going through the blemishes and and obviously like,
and then every time you select one, the guy in the background who is your husband just goes like, "Man, you're as beautiful as the first time I met you."
And it's like,
man, you never looked better, honey.
Here, like, what?
You've never. Boy, I love you so much. Goodbye.
Yeah. Like, meanwhile, like black eyes, bruises.
They must be using the same system that they use to make a whole. They're just like the sad rest of humanity. Right? Like all NPCs.
I'm sure. That's very common for games as well.
Oh yeah, but in this case, it means you can just ruin your person.
It's so funny.
The best is when you come upon NPCs who have your exact hairstyle. That always I mean, I haven't encountered that in this particular game yet, but definitely in video games.
You always wish that the game would just have the two characters go, nice.
Yeah. Man, I wonder if you could make... I wonder how...
That's the mod. That's the mod for sure. If you see someone who has like
just a little
30% in like a certain like the more they have in common with you, the more that you characters just sort of give like knowing glances as you walk by each other, just like, yeah, we both drive a CRV.
Right. Yeah. It's
the nod.
It's the Prius nod.
Yeah.
But for vault armor, for power armor. Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, now
someone made a really impressive Beavis and Butthead because they have the two characters in the character creator scene.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
With the big jutted chin and everything.
Yeah, that's
really
pretty good. Yeah. Anyway.
Basically the first week after any new Bethesda game is out is essentially just like
that stupid Oblivion fucking, character.
Crazy gallery of madness on Twitter as people post their the
Oblivion character that looks like a weird nightmare clown with the yellow hair and like
with the axe and the dozens of murdered corpses.
Yeah, like I can see that guy perfectly. I don't always remember what my loved ones look like in real life, but I can see that guy perfectly in my mind's eye.
That like 2006.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
Yep. Happy 10-year anniversary of Weird Oblivion Murderer Clown. God, every maybe 2 years I think of that picture, and then I have to spend a bunch of time tracking it down.
It's hard to find.
Impossible to find.
It's really hard to find. What do you Google?
Set it as your pinned tweet, Chris.
I don't know if I've ever tweeted it. Maybe I have.
Well, you fix that.
I will. Yeah, if I can find it, I will.
Oblivion Clown Man.
Yep. Video game. This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by Squarespace, a service that makes it incredibly fast and easy to make your own beautiful and responsive website, portfolio, blog, or online store. This week, we got an email from Idle Thumbs listener Zachary Dans, who writes in saying, Dear Thumbs, I'm currently a second-year student at the University of Virginia studying computer science, and while I know a fair bit of HTML and CSS, I decided to use Squarespace to make my website, and it's tremendously easy. The URL is zachdans.com. That is Zach, Z-A-C-H, Dans, D-A-N-Z.com. And I went to this website, and cool. It is really nice. It's a beautiful little website that has his information about him and work that he's done, and it's got a nice kind of little expanding menu.
Oh, I love
on
those.
mobile. Yeah, it's very pretty, but fast and snappy. What you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Scouting out features for helicopter.helicopter.
That's true, man. By the way, like I said earlier, if you want a free domain, you can sign up for a year at Squarespace. Use the promo code THUMBS for 10% off. But if you get a year, you will also get a free domain.
Oh, wow.
So you will get everything you need to
Yeah.
get your whole website going, started, whether it's just for you, whether it is for a small business, or whether it is for a family member who can't figure out how to do this stuff. Point them over to Squarespace. It's like the easiest thing ever, and you can sign up without a credit card required.
Oh, nice.
Yes, which is very nice. So squarespace.com and the promo code thumbs for 10% off and a free domain if you get a year of it. Thanks, Squarespace.
Video game.
Nick, whenever you're feeling down, think about helicopters.helicopter. And think about going to that
Lift you up.
website, and for some reason it just has a button that when you press it, the Zodiac Killer says goodbye.
What?
I don't know. For some reason, Nick and I have become mutually, I guess, conversant in the language of just saying goodbye like the Zodiac Killer over and over again. Remember that time when he called in on that movie Zodiac and said goodbye?
I basically remember, yeah. I mean, I love that movie.
Remember when the Zodiac said you eat him?
Man, I hope that line gets a callback in the new Star Wars movie. Hope J.J. Abrams...
Hope he calls back to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No, I hope he calls back to Han Solo, remarking that you eat him. Classic line.
That's actually, hopefully he does, because that will be the test if Harrison Ford can actually emote and do anything. He'll
That's
be like,
true. That was his
he's
screen
just like,
test.
you eat him.
You're-
What do you do with
you're-
dates?
You eat him. I mean,
Harrison, tell me what you do.
He would still say you eat
in
him.
Star Wars land, they're called dates.
Oh,
There's an apostrophe.
Dats.
That's
They're called dots, Nick.
Datums.
He says, we got
Oh, he
dots
says
here.
we
You
got
eat
dots. He's back. He's got the energy.
them. Dots.
Video game.
This episode of Idle Thumbs is also brought to you by Harry's. Harry's will send you razors and shaving equipment right to your door for an incredibly fair price and very high quality. For only $15, you can get a razor, moisturizing shave cream, and 3 razor blades. But get this, if you use the promo code THUMBS, $5 off of that. That is ridiculous. That makes it $10.
I think I will get that.
You should. You should go to harrys.com. That is HARRYS.com. And enter the coupon code THUMBS at checkout for $5 off. That's $5 off anything. But if you apply it to that deal, that's like the primo strategy for, saving those bucks.
Take it from me, Harry.
You're like the least
Yeah, I know.
appropriate person for that to be your name.
Oh.
Well, you got that beard, though. You could shave that off.
Yeah, take it from me, bald guy with gross beard.
I have, though, personally used Harry's shaving products, and I like them a lot. I have the whole sort of kit that I got, and I've ordered a couple razor refills. They are affordable. They come to your door fast.
Nice.
Harrys.com, and don't forget the coupon code THUMBS at checkout for $5 off.
You had really good diction on that domain name. Harrys.com.
I'm all about that. I'm all about that diction.
Hmm.
Like they say.
.com. Goodbye.
Thanks, Harry's.
Video games.
So I guess we're digging Fallout 4.
Yeah.
I've been playing another game about which I am much less positive,
Oh, no.
but which has a grip on me that I hate. This game was introduced into my life by an Idle Thumbs reader who just replied me on Twitter, and I don't remember who it is, but I sure wish they hadn't done this, which was to let me know that there's a tie-in game to Anno 2070.
Anno 2070, 2205.
2205. I'm sorry.
okay,
I'm sorry. Anno 2205 Asteroid Miner. And this shit is the most free-to-play that I've ever played. I'm sure that I'm sure people who have played all the free-to-plays
Yeah.
can come up with some more exploitative free-to-plays, but oh my god, as someone who doesn't play those games, this one has made me understand why they're successful. It has made me understand why people get sucked into this shit and spend a bunch of money on it. And 2, has confirmed all of my like
Worst fears.
like I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely, it has not left me going, oh, I understand why people like it, and it's like totally a valid, cool thing. No, I think it's terrible. Like, I think it's actually really bad. So this is a match color game. It's not a. It's you can
Yeah. What?
like all these games are. You know, you match colors on a grid. Is that, I don't know. Is that not,
I don't know.
What are video games,
What
Chris?
is a
Well,
match?
Grandma, you match colors. That's all of them.
oh, I can't tell if you're saying I'm being too vague or you just don't know what I'm saying.
No, I actually don't know what.
I think that you're being too. Where you're like, it's not a match 3, it's a match color. And I'm like, okay, I'm already lost in your free to
All I
play
meant,
lingo. You're already you're too far gone down the.
I'm sure that's not official lingo, but all I meant is that you don't have to only match 3. I mean, you can match more than 3, but it's you.
Oh, it's like a chaining game.
Okay, yes.
I don't even know that's not what it is.
Okay,
either.
but that is nonetheless, that is a better describe. It's a color chaining game. Would actually better describe it, because that is what
it's
you're
a
doing.
match color chaining game.
Yep. Dick Cheney's match
How many
color chaining game.
Is it an infinite
Tatum
chainer or is it like a
Channing's
chain 6?
chaining game.
You can chain as many as there are like colors adjacent or diagonal to one another.
So it's an infinite color match chaining game.
That's the official genre, yes, Jake.
Yeah, I heard about that at a conference. Like, there were 2 guys walking by me at outside of Moscone Center one time when I was going to get a burrito, and that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they talking about monetizing impressions or ARPPs?
I don't know. They looked rich and they were making like a jerk off motion with their hands. So I imagine so.
So this game, the conceit of the game is that I guess you're like managing asteroid mining operations in the world of Anno 2205, and you can actually link the game to your Uplay account and then send the resources you collect in it back to your PC game. Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. And the thing that makes it exploitative and weird is that it's a free game, you know, it's free to play, like I said. And I think a lot of these games work this way, but again, this is sort of not something that I've sort of always avoided games like this. And this one I only got because of the reason I imagine they want me to, which is that it had the name on it of another thing that I like. Yeah. And so, shitty consumer that I am, I just fucking clicked it.
You didn't get it just to boost your asteroid
I didn't
points?
know that was a thing till I already had it installed. But anyway, so you're given an asteroid that is you're presented with an asteroid and it has some mission, which is like you usually have to sort of just mine through the entire asteroid, thus destroying
so it's
the
just
asteroid.
like Bejeweled or something.
You are given objectives that require you to do all number of things, like destroy X number of like specific color of gems or whatever resources, whatever these things are, or like you have to blow up these like bomb apparatus that require you to destroy like 3 things next to them, like whatever. You got different things you have to do, but they seem very clearly designed to basically require you, the farther you get into the game, the more you basically have to just luck out in order to actually complete the objectives. You know, like you get to a point in the game where it becomes almost impossible to complete a level without either really lucking out in terms of just what the sort of random drops are, or spending diamonds to like extend how many turns you get or use special items. And guess what? Diamonds can be accrued like painstakingly slowly in the game, or you can just buy them. Not only that, though, in order to even play the game at all, you have to spend energy. And once your energy depletes, you have to either wait however long it takes for the energy to point by 1 point accrue back again, or you pay more money to do that. So there's 2 different ways the game is trying to milk money out of you.
Those 2 axes are how most of them work.
But You've
never fully gone into the...
Also, the ones that I have played, like Alpha Bear has some of this, right? But that was one where I could just sort of ignore all that stuff and just play the game with fewer bonuses. And I just kind of... This game, you cannot ignore it. You have to just stop playing the game for long periods of time, or you have to pay up. And like, I've bought 4 fucking $2 things. It's like, it's gross. It's now been several days since I bought anything. Once I realized that I had spent $8 on this thing, which is like, weird to think about, because if you go back several years, the kind of game that this is used to be called casual games,
And it was $20.
and they were $20. Yeah. So I don't so much object to like the money that I've spent, but I really object to how grossly it makes me expend that money. That it's really, I feel so gross. And so I had to just sort of forcibly tell myself, like, I'm not going to spend any more money on this. Not because I like think that they shouldn't be paid for this game, but because the way in which I feel compelled to pay for it just feels so incredibly just regressive and disgusting. And it's fucking weird.
So on that note, I have a World of Warships update.
Oh, man.
I have to say one real quick thing about Anno 2205. Last week and every time we talk about Anno, we talk about how they should make Anno 2007. I really now wish that Anno 2007 existed and had a 1995 casual tie-in game. It was like made in Flash.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it is just the game that someone in the world of Anno 2007 is playing, and it does nothing other than that.
Yeah.
That's all.
yeah. You mean $19.95?
Yes.
I thought you meant the year 1995.
No. I mean, you get like, you know,
Yeah.
a diner dash,
appropriate,
a diner dash,
Big Fish games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a total Big Fish or Yahoo Games Portal.
Yep.
Anno 2007 tie-in game.
Yeah.
That's all. It'd be so much healthier.
But yeah, so I was playing World of Warships, and I think the last time I talked about this game, I commented how on how less egregious the free to play stuff was than I expected it to be. Since then, however, it's been a bit of a roller coaster because I'm not playing it as of like today, but I played it for a straight month pretty regularly, and I ended up spending, gosh, I don't know, way more than
Should
I
we guess?
Than
Should
I-
Chris and I try to guess?
You could. I don't know the actual figure because it's in
$20?
like gold
$150
doubloons or whatever. No. Probably the price of like if they had just sold the game at this point.
$60?
Like probably more like 50. Yeah, somewhere in there.
So
if they'd sold the game and
what ended up happening here was that you became good at the game and put enough time into it that you found the places where they
so it makes me appreciate it more hearing this story, though, realizing what they could have done, which is the sort of like we're restricting you from actually playing the game version. What ends up happening is just that at a certain point, the like the curve on progressing just starts to flatten out, and it just takes forever. Or rather, it doesn't flatten out; it just like shoots up. So it just takes forever to get to the next thing. Which you could just continue doing that and playing the game and it doesn't penalize you or anything, or you can just speed it up by 2x and pay a certain amount of dollars to make that happen for like, I don't know, however many days it's good for or whatever. And I kind of like resented the fact that I was spending money on this thing up until the point that I realized that I was only going to do it for about as long as it would cost to actually purchase the game, and then I was kind of fine with it. Like once I realized like I put so many hours into this game, more hours than most other games that I would buy today anyway.
Right.
I just sort of became fine with it, and now I got my enjoyment out of it, and it's fine. You know what I mean? And so like that
Meaning
version.
what, you're done, or what?
Yeah, I'm pretty much done. But that version of like, we're gonna like basically hook you enough to then extract the dollars that we would have normally just charged you up front.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fine with that. I think that, obviously it can get out of hand, but
Yeah, I'm definitely.
as long as you restrain yourself.
I mean, I'm definitely,
all right
I'm
with it.
definitely ambivalent, right? Because as you say, you can definitely look at it from the standpoint of, all right, I've ended up spending as much, maybe a little more, maybe a little less than I otherwise would have if this were sold more traditionally.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it just seems so much more intended to be abused.
Yeah.
Than that. Like,
Oh no,
I
there
haven't
are
played the
people
game
who
that
are
you're talking
being
about, but
abused by it. Yeah.
But but it seems like it wants those people to, like it's. I mean, obviously, in a capitalistic system, like everyone wants someone else to part with their money and give. Like everyone wants that, but you can definitely create systems that allow a much more abusable version of it.
So I think this now it
surface.
allows the rationalizers who have some self-control to go, oh, I spent about as much as I would have paid, but it also allows the people who do not have those faculties and who will just pour infinite money into the game to do that.
Yeah, it made me, when I was playing this game, it made me think of someone...
Right? No?
Yeah, I mean, I think...
It depends on the game.
I'm definitely much more conflicted about it in the case of games like this one that I was playing.
Yeah.
Only because
that's a different...
Like, the thing that makes me feel weird about it is imagining someone who really only plays games that are like this and then therefore doesn't have a frame of reference for the fact that this is like one specific way that games are, marketed and sold and designed, is instead of like, I feel like when I play this, I'm coming to it with, I can have these like very complicated kind of reactions to it because I've played so many other games that aren't like that. So I sort of see the places where I understand why it works like that. And then I see the places where I'm like, I know that it doesn't have to be like this because I have so much familiarity with so many other games that get around, that don't do this stuff, and make compelling games that are good. And maybe I'm not giving enough credit to the people who play these games. It's entirely possible, but it definitely feels like there's a potential for people to sort of grow up with games like this and just internalize this as a way games are paid for and not
maybe
and like develop bad behavior.
I think there are so many different payment models out there right now.
Reward bad behavior.
Yeah, there are so many different types of people who play games. There's so many different player models. Like I think that is really well put, and it's a concern that I have. And it's like it's a thing that's impossible to know. I only have one anecdotal story, which I have shared before on this podcast, which was waiting in line for an airplane and hearing the two guys behind me talking about, I think it was about Need for Speed, I think.
No, it was like...
it was like Real Racing.
Real Racing.
I think, or one of those iOS, like super nice looking racing games, and the most recent version of it that came out had an energy system and had cooldowns and had all of these things. And then the guy was like, oh, you should just play Real Racing 4. It doesn't have any of that shit. It costs like $1. And the guy was like, oh, what? Wow, cool, great. And like they just...
Yeah.
That only works in a transitionary market, though, where the old one that's $1 still exists.
Yes, that is true. But
also, I mean, competition always exists, right? Like if somebody's making Clash of Clans and it turns into like a really exploitative thing, somebody's just going to make the thing that is that, but also isn't exploitative. Is that
actually true?
Yeah, I don't know if that's true because Clash of Clans makes infinite money in a way that the other one is not.
Why do you think?
But I would assume that that's not like an absurdly, excessively free-to-play game.
Gambling exists and is incredibly like what's these like if what you say is true, then what is the like version of that
those games have not that maybe is a bad example, but those games have not like had the lasting success that those companies have wanted. I mean,
like no single company does manage to exist forever in this space yet because it is trends, like because there are trends, but it's like casual game to Facebook game to mobile game to pervasive weird. It seems like these things are getting increasingly nebulous now that a lot of OSs are homogenizing and storefronts are sort of like becoming cross-platform. But I feel like the attitude and style of monetization that basically feels like, what if we can take the linear progress the satisfaction of linear progress in a video game and bolt a slot machine onto it, that seems like that has now been around for a decade, even though it's jumped from company to company to company. That general attitude exists, and like,
I mean, that's kind of what gaming started with.
Kind of, but not really.
I mean, kind of. Linear progress at an arcade machine is put another quarter in.
Arcade machine skill ramps.
It was like the first 20 years of gaming was just all like continue to spend money to play 3 minutes of this game.
But if you eventually become amazing at Pac-Man, you can fucking crush Pac-Man on 1 quarter in a very short period of time. You can't do that with these games because they literally stop you.
Well, these games also aren't designed...
the clock runs out.
Not all of them do, but yeah.
The ones that make the most money do.
The most egregious ones.
My concern is just generally that it seems predatory. I mean, I'm concerned about, like, this is not high on my list of, like, global concerns, but I mean, I'm concerned about things that don't personally affect me if they seem predatory or harmful, like just in the world. And this is, again, like a pretty low level version of that relative to a lot of things, but it still just seems like kind of a bummer. Like I'm just I'm not thrilled about it.
It's
like,
definitely gross.
I'm not worried that it's going to infect Fallout 4 and I'm going to be doing this next week. Like that's not my concern. I only bring it up
that mod.
I only bring it up because it was just like a weird experience to have and realize that I'd fallen into this pit that I sort of like was aware of, but hadn't personally experienced before. And it just made me feel very strange and just like uncomfortable about what a widespread practice it's become. And I am sure that I am myself being a weird, just fucking old person by saying all these things. So if any listeners have any opinions about like people doing really good work in this model or you know, whatever else, like please feel free to send it into questions@idlethumbs.net.
That seems like the end of that. Although you have to be, I mean, you got to say you're probably pretty happy with the state of your asteroid mining operation after putting all this time and money into that game.
I'm not, because it's still just like nothing changes. It just keeps going on forever, like the infinite plate of pasta. You know what I mean? No matter how much time and money I dump into it, it seems like I'm just always just in the middle of a million
But
asteroids.
that means you have an Anno 2205 world full of
like crazy resources.
ingested
Yeah,
pasta.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what I was referring to. I was referring to you have to be happy about your rich planet now that you've given them $8.
Full of pasta poo.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's that. You guys want to do some reader mail, or anyone else have any games they wanted to mention?
We should see what people have written in to us about.
Oh man, well here on this topic, Greg Sheehan writes, "Hey guys, love the show a lot. Sharing a random thought: if Bethesda created a $5 microtransaction in Fallout 4 that would remove your carry weight limit, they'd make a mint. I personally would be clicking the buy button even before I got through my exclamations of disgust and outrage."
Paid mods.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You ready for that to be a fucking... Oh man, are paid mods coming back?
No. I just mean someone will surely make a free mod about that.
Right, but that reminded me, because there was a paid mod marketplace for Skyrim for a minute, and then everyone lost their fucking mind. But I imagined that was the attempt to sort of lay the tracks for what would be a paid marketplace for Fallout 4. How could it not be?
Man, weight carry limits are my fucking bane in these games. It's really good that, like, I don't object to them being in the game from a design standpoint because it makes total sense that you can't carry.
When you're encumbered,
shit,
do you move super slow?
Yes, you do.
So do you play Fallout 4 as just like a fat waddler the whole time because you're just fully encumbered? But no, because your favorite thing is to move fast in video games. So you're just the saddest.
Yeah, it's torture for me. So often what will end up happening is I will just waddle towards the nearest settlement and then dump all my shit in like a trash can or something where I know it'll stay. Right? Because the things are all persistent forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
your home barrel.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah was sort of watching me play this game yesterday, and she actually played Fallout 3, I think. And she was like, "Oh, it would be so interesting if NPCs just came and like just picked up stuff that you've dropped and like carried things off." And I'm like, oh man, I bet there's a million forum people who have complained about that not happening.
That's the fucking mod. You need your little helper, your home barreler, basically a robot that'll just go, and then you can just dump all of your shit on it, and it'll just fly it away back to your house. You can kind
of do that with your dog, kind of.
Yeah.
What if your dog gets encumbered and it starts like panting?
But then I just started
thinking... Your dog needs a robot.
I started thinking about all of, like, what if this entire world were simulated and all the NPCs were, like, doing everything in real time and, like, traversing around the world and collecting things that they find? Like, man, what a disaster. Like...
That would be so enjoyable. You start building a house and the guy's like, I could scrap this for my crafting goal that I, an NPC, need to build a wall.
Yeah.
This is a nice wall.
Man, speaking of this, actually... so Nick, I don't know if you ever were aware of what Chris Avalone's apparent concept for at least part of this game was, which is that, you know, he sort of had this notion that in an RPG, you often have this big, you know, sort of like boss figure, not just RPGs, but, you know, a lot of games have like a big climactic battle, and often it's very underwhelming. And he was thinking, what is actually the most like powerful force in any given RPG world? It's not any one enemy. It's like the player or the player party that is marauding around this world, like capable of destroying anything because they have to be in order to beat the game. So his idea was that there would be another like player party that is your enemy in the game that is also roaming around the world, like doing things to the world, and you have encounters with them and fight them, and like they are messing with stuff and like in the same way that you are. And that was such an interesting, like, cool idea. And I'm sure there'd be a million difficulties, design wise, in actually creating something like that. But it was a really interesting concept that I like the idea of.
Yeah, it's cool.
I had never heard about that before. We have another email from Brian Laframboise, who writes in with some robot news. It's been a while since we've had any robot news.
Sweet.
Yeah. Did you guys see this? Have you guys seen Facebook M?
No.
No? This is fucking weird. This must be in like some kind of closed beta or something. Maybe it's an open beta. I don't know. Facebook has launched a service called M that purports to be essentially an AI personal assistant where you can like just ask it to do whatever, like organize this party for me, or like, oh, I want some like just food, like I don't know what restaurant, but like it's got to be like this, and I want it in 3 hours, and like blah blah blah, and it'll do it for you. And what it appears to actually be is just people doing all this stuff and typing back to you in a real-time chat interface, and then just doing all this shit like on the phone themselves. I mean, they're basically just being like your butler. But the weird thing is they play it as though they're computers themselves. And Brian Laframboise writes, he links an article on Medium, and the title of the article is Facebook M, the anti-Turing test. The Turing test is this theoretical thing, obviously, where if a robot can convince some number of people that it is in fact a real person, then it has passed this arbitrary test. And so he proposes the sort of anti-Turing test in dealing with Facebook M, which is, can you prove this like thing that claims to be a robot? Can you prove it is actually not a robot, but is in fact a human? And he has like chat logs where he just like, it's basically like the
Samantha or whatever?
The Samantha, like there is a real person here going on, where he's saying stuff like, are you a real person or an AI? And then it answers, I use artificial intelligence, but people train me. Which is such a hilarious sleight of hand, where those are both technically accurate statements, but wildly misleading.
There are hundreds of people in call centers who have to do these specific things, but did you know that over the years, call centers have taken on more and more tasks? For instance, a phone operator could be working for 15 companies at the same time. Why don't they work for every company? Facebook M. Like, that's got to be the pitch for this, right? Yeah. Like, all those chat tree companies, why contract only to 20 companies when they could just genericize the entire thing? It's weird. It reminds me of Amazon's Mechanical Turk.
Yeah, it is like Amazon's Mechanical Turk, but way more labor intensive.
Well, Mechanical Turk is all labor as well, right? It's just
right, but it's very like predictable small units of labor. It's like it's like do this repetitive task 500 times.
Right.
Whereas this is like, I'm giving you a task that is totally unpredictable and could be anything. Like, could require you to like. There was crates. Some guy fucking ordered 2 parrots to be delivered to his friend's office on his birthday. And the fucking Facebook M had to find how to rent parrots and deliver them and like give the guy a quote. And he's like, could you actually talk them down from $300 to $200? And it did it. Like that's crazy.
Weird.
It's just a person who you're just,
how do they pay, like, because, yeah, with Mechanical Turk, don't you define it in work units where, like, this job is going to cost this many units?
Yeah, and you get, like, a fifth of a cent for each one or whatever.
Right, but it's like, we estimate that renting you 2 parrots and talking the cost down $100 is approximately, like, what? How do they figure out what to charge for this?
I think they charge you cost, right? At least right now.
Cost of what?
Of whatever their services, like they're
eating the labor fee.
Yeah, at least right now they are. I mean,
what?
I don't know how. That's what I mean. I don't know how you scale this. Like, I don't know how people pay for it.
Get me the president of the United States.
Well, yeah,
I want to talk to Obama. Where's Obama? Okay, Biden. Fine, Biden.
Yeah, they definitely sometimes just say I can't do that, or they try and then they say, like one of the ways the guy tried to prove it was a person was by asking them to like contract some company, but then he just gave them his own cell phone number. And then when he picked it up, they immediately hung up and they're like, it seems that you have given me a cell phone number.
Wow, why didn't he just play as the company that he said? You know, I was like, Consolidated Holdings.
I think it was before he even said
there
anything.
There is a real person here.
I think they had some way to know. And then he eventually got them to call his office because it used a landline. and the caller ID on the office speakerphone just said Facebook. Like it
I wonder if they'll
reverse traced it
engage
back
with
to
fax
Facebook.
machines. If you're like, can you just return this form? Or like, so you have to do this thing where
I'm going
they'll
to email you something. Can you fax it, print it out and fax it?
Yeah, or just like call this company. They're going to fax you a form, then you have to fill it out and fax it back. You have to sign it.
God, you know what? There actually is a service that does that.
Oh, there's a lot of services that do PDF faxing.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean,
Oh,
there's
they'll sign a document for
yeah,
you?
there's a company that I saw recently that's like, need to pay a ticket, need to register a business, need to do this. Like, we'll just download and print out all the paperwork and fill it out for you. And
Oh,
send
yeah,
it in.
that
I almost used a company like that.
Cities don't like those.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, there are, yeah. Like when I was moving into our apartment, Chris,
Yeah.
I had to get no parking signs for the street, but I wasn't living in this city, so there was literally no
to
way
get
for
no
me to...
parking signs, you were going to falsify like
No.
city-
They're like the moving parking signs.
yeah, right.
okay.
But you have to like physically go
on,
to the. But yeah, you have to physically go to the thing. So there's a service that will just like send a guy out there and like
Yeah.
whatever, put the signs
Right,
up and
get
do
the
everything.
permit,
And,
yeah.
I'm sure cities hate that.
I never did that. I just parked the truck for
Yeah, no, I ended
an
up
hour.
doing that.
Yeah.
Cities hate it. One weird trick. One weird trick to disrupt your local city's bureaucracy.
So anyway, Facebook M is really weird. I don't really understand. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
so
what
that is
end
the
game for
opposite
this
of
is.
robot news. Let's also clarify that is.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's robot
That's true.
news.
The reverse
It's
robot
the
news.
robots have one, and people are impersonating them
Well,
now.
this is the thing: is that so? What it made me think of is just that what a strange trajectory we're on now. From like, it feels like it is. This stuff is all an increasing expression of class division. Like I'm not putting forth any kind of like manifesto or thesis here because I don't feel informed enough to do so. But definitely when you look at all of the services that are springing up that basically exist entirely to allow like middle class or higher people to pay small amounts of money for less wealthy people to perform menial tasks for them.
Yep.
It's pretty fucking weird. I mean, like in any one individual case, it doesn't seem that weird, but the aggregate of it, like the more of these services that exist are going to be really weird in total.
I wonder if it's messaged the same way, though. It seems like so much of this stuff is like, your life's just really hard and it's the same life as everyone else's life. So maybe you should just, lighten your load by using one of these amazing services that makes your hard, normal life hard, as opposed to like leaning into either the luxury or
yeah.
the complete opposite, whatever that
Yeah.
is, Like,
Yeah, well, what's funny is that so the United States traditionally, like, the mass marketing is always the former, right? Like, mass marketing is always like, we're all the same. Everyone's middle class, basically, is the sort of American standard marketing line. But one of the funny things, so a thing that's been really weird about a hobby that I've gotten deep into over the last year, which is like gaming miles and points systems for travel purposes, has been that as a result of that, despite not myself being wealthy, I have come into contact with a lot of like publications and resources that are explicitly intended and really only even possible to be aware of most of the time, unless you either intentionally seek them out or are wealthy and are thus marketed to for these things. And it's fucking crazy how many things there are in this country, and I assume like any wealthy country, that make absolutely no bones about being for rich fucking people only, and how if you're the richest person, you're the most deserving of like X or Y product. It's fucking weird. It's really weird. And like that I probably shouldn't be surprised by that, but just like as someone who isn't actually like super wealthy, like you just don't encounter marketing like that very often, because everything is like wants to make you feel like everyone's kind of the same. That's
well, you at best get the new money rich marketing, which is you don't quite feel 100% about the fact that you have all this money, which
Right.
is like
right. But
as
what's
opposed
crazy,
to you do feel
yeah.
100% about
What's
the fact that you
crazy
have
is
this
when
money.
is when you start to like get exposed to the old money marketing or the new but uber fucking super rich
Right.
marketing, which is basically the same, which is just like here is just luxury for people who can afford to spend just tens or hundreds of $1,000s just at the drop of a hat.
We all
on
live in San
anything.
Francisco, which is suffocating under mostly the new money kind. Like, this city is suffocating.
Yeah,
but even then, when you're in San Francisco and you, like, I don't know, like, I have a friend who's done really, really well in advertising since we were in college together. And when he comes to the city, we go to bars that I would not go to with people I know who have
Yeah.
who have probably millions of dollars from tech startup stuff that scare me. But they're like, with this dude, it's like, where are we? This is it's like going to fucking Harry Potter land, basically, where you're just like, a wall opens up and there's a strange room. Anyway, robot news. This is what robot news is. Facebook M, all that I was actually thinking about when it comes to robot news is maybe this is the thing that humanity needs. We need to be able to disguise ourselves as robots so well that Facebook M is actually going to just be a bunker. So when robots are using Facebook M for themselves to get things from other robots, we can all still manage to live and not be purged by existing inside. We all just become Facebook M operators.
Yeah, and then we can all pack meat for each other to eat.
Well, yeah,
And those meat packing plants that can't be roboticized.
At least the robots won't know that we are not robots. And that we won't be purged. Like, we'll just all work for Facebook M.
Do you think the smart move there would then be to act like you're a robot trying to act like a person?
Yes, exactly.
So then you could be, there is a real person here. We're like, oh, that's just
a classic robot.
One of us robots.
Samantha. Yeah, no, you work in the Facebook M office, and you are then, like, you do a perfect impression of a robot impersonating a person. Right, you're actually a person impersonating a robot impersonating a person. Mm-hmm. It's like Spy Party.
True.
It's just like Spy Party.
Yeah. I mean, it is. That is basically what
robots of the future are going to love Spy Party. Man, Spy Party would be really fucking hard if you were a computer AI.
Would it? Maybe it wouldn't be. Because they can detect, like, micro movements.
Right, but I guess that's true. But that's true. Spy Party bot versus bot matches. That's what I'm all about.
That would be actually awesome.
I'm fucking fascinated by that. The moment that I said that, I'm now completely fascinated by a robot that trains as the Spy Party sniper and a different AI that trains as a Spy Party spy, and watching those two characters somehow optimize. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully that happens once Spy Party ships. Yeah.
Well, on that, thanks for listening to Idle Thumbs. I mean, I guess that's it, right?
I guess that was a podcast about video games.
Oh, no.
What was that?
Thanks for listening. If you want to send us questions or comments about any of this or anything else, you can...
we need them.
Yeah, we apparently do. You can send them to questions@idlethumbs.net. We have a number of other shows on our network at idlethumbs.net, including Esports Today, which is a great esports podcast hosted by Rob Zachney and Andrew Gruen, as well as 3 Moves Ahead, the finest strategy game podcast on the internet, also hosted by Rob Zachney, and they just launched a Patreon campaign that they are using to hopefully give them the resources to up the amount of content that they publish. In addition to their weekly podcast, they would like to also run a Paradox Games sort of special spin-off show, as well as a history book club. You can find that at patreon.com/3MA if you like their show. And we got other stuff on there too. So... idlethumbs.net. There is also the Idle Thumbs Winter Wizard Jam, which is coming up very soon. That'll be taking place from Saturday, November 28th to Sunday, December 13th. If you go to the Idle Thumbs forums, just go to idlethumbs.net and click the forums link. You can participate in that. Regardless of your level of skill in game development, there are people there who are cool and helpful, and it is the previous Idle Thumbs Wizard Jam was really great and turned out a lot of really fun stuff, really creative stuff. So if you want to be involved with this one, it is the Idle Thumbs Winter Wizard Jam, and you can head over to the Idle Forums and do so. If you like the show, please consider telling a friend or giving us a review. Those things mean a lot to us. We really appreciate it. And on that, we will be back next week. Bye.
Goodbye.